The sun had barely risen when the lawsuit papers slammed against Daniel Reyes' front door. He stood frozen on his porch, staring at the words trespassing and property violation printed boldly. His hands trembled slightly as the salty morning breeze drifted in from the nearby shoreline. Karen Whitmore stood across the yard, arms crossed. Its satisfaction. She had waited months for this moment. Ever since Daniel moved into the beachfront community. As HOA president, she controlled every rule, every fine. But this lawsuit was different. More personal. It issued. She claimed his wheelchair ramp violated aesthetic guidelines and devalued the entire neighborhood instantly. Daniel built that ramp himself after losing mobility during his last deployment. He had saved for years to buy this small slice of peaceful beachfront paradise. Now Karen wanted him gone, claiming his property technically belonged within disputed community boundaries. Neighbors peeked through curtains, afraid to intervene, afraid of becoming her next target. Only Maria Lopez, his elderly neighbor, stepped outside, her eyes burning with quiet anger. She had watched Karen torment families before, always disguising cruelty behind official HOA language. Daniel clutched his folder of military discharge papers, hoping logic could overpower her hostility. Karen scoffed. The binding homeowners association regulations. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt, but the air felt suffocating with tension. Daniel's jaw tightened as memories of combat flashed briefly through his exhausted, aching mind. He had survived explosions overseas. Yet this woman threatened to destroy his fragile peace. Maria gently touched his shoulder, whispering that she would help him fight this injustice. Karen's smile widened, certain her connections within local zoning offices guaranteed an easy victory. She believed money and influence made her untouchable within this small coastal community. Daniel glanced toward the shimmering water, remembering why he chose this exact piece of land. It was the only place where his nightmares quieted, where waves replaced gunfire memories. Karen handed him a court summons, instructing him to vacate within 30 short days. His chest tightened as anger mixed painfully with disbelief at her audacious abuse of power. He noticed Karen's assistant nervously avoiding eye contact, clearly uncomfortable with her aggressive tactics. Daniel realized this fight would require more than patience or quiet, respectful compliance. He needed evidence. Witnesses. Karen's manipulated property records. Maria mentioned a local attorney who specialized in unfair homeowners association disputes nearby. Daniel nodded slowly, determination replacing the shock that had paralyzed him moments earlier. Karen turned sharply, warning him that resistance would only accelerate his inevitable removal. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she marched back toward her oversized beach house. Daniel exhaled deeply, staring at the ocean horizon stretching endlessly beyond his troubled yard. He whispered to himself that he had survived worse battles than this one. Maria squeezed his hand, promising they would gather every neighbor Karen had ever wronged. Word began spreading quietly through text messages, phone calls, and hushed driveway conversations. Families who once feared speaking out suddenly felt a flicker of cautious, hopeful courage. Daniel sat at his kitchen table, organizing documents proving his rightful ownership and service record. The lawsuit accused him of violations that conveniently ignored decades of established property history. He suspected Karen altered boundary lines years earlier to expand her own beachfront access. That night, replaying every confrontation and calculating his next determined move. Outside, indifferent to the storm brewing within his quiet community, Daniel knew tomorrow would mark the beginning of an unavoidable, high-stakes confrontation. By morning, it was filled with old surveys, deeds, Maria arrived early, carrying coffee and a list of neighbors willing to testify against Karen. Several families admitted Karen forced them to pay inflated fines for non-existent violations. One immigrant family revealed she threatened deportation-related comments disguised as friendly community warnings. Daniel's anger deepened. Realizing Karen's abuse extended far beyond his personal property dispute, he contacted attorney Rachel Simmons, who specialized in exposing corrupt homeowners association practices. Rachel reviewed his documents carefully, noting inconsistencies within Karen's submitted boundary claims. She discovered Karen quietly amended community bylaws without proper homeowner votes or notifications. This discovery meant Karen's lawsuit rested on fraudulent, unenforceable regulations. Daniel felt a surge of hope mixed with cautious disbelief at this sudden breakthrough. Rachel suggested gathering written testimonies before confronting Karen during the next scheduled HOA meeting. Neighbors slowly emerged from silence, signing statements describing years of unfair, targeted harassment. Maria organized a small gathering, encouraging everyone to attend the upcoming community meeting together. Karen continued bragging about removing the troublesome veteran neighbor. She believed intimidation alone would silence anyone brave enough to challenge her authority. Meanwhile, records uncovering the original property survey from years ago. The survey clearly placed his ramp entirely within his legally purchased beachfront boundary. Rachel prepared formal documents proving Karen manipulated zoning maps for personal financial benefit. Daniel practiced his statement nightly, determined to speak calmly despite his simmering frustration. He remembered military training emphasizing composure, strategy, intense pressure. The night before the meeting, he visited the shoreline. Watching waves reflect pale moonlight, he whispered a quiet promise to himself, vowing never to surrender his hard-earned home. Maria texted updates, confirming over a dozen neighbors planned to attend and speak. Karen prepared exaggerated photographs intending to portray Daniel's ramp as dangerously unsightly. She rehearsed dismissive remarks, confident the board would unanimously support her authoritative decisions. Her assistant nervously suggested reconsidering the lawsuit, fearing potential backlash from concerned residents. Karen dismissed the warning, insisting her position made her completely immune from consequences. The community center buzzed with tension as residents gathered for the critical evening meeting. Daniel entered holding his folder, Rachel walking confidently beside him with prepared legal documents. Karen smirked initially, underestimating the growing coalition assembled quietly within the crowded room. The meeting began with routine announcements before transitioning toward Daniel's contested case discussion. Karen presented her exaggerated claims, insisting safety concerns justified removing his essential wheelchair ramp. Daniel calmly stood, presenting his original survey proving complete legal property compliance instantly. Murmurs spread through the room as residents realized Karen's claims appeared deliberately misleading. Rachel addressed the board, revealing Karen's unauthorized bylaw changes lacking proper homeowner approval. Gasps echoed across the room as documented evidence exposed her manipulative misconduct clearly. One neighbor stood, describing threats Karen made regarding their family's immigration status previously. Another resident shared financial records proving inflated fines funneled toward Karen's personal accounts. Karen's confident expression slowly crumbled as the accusations mounted with damning precision. She attempted interrupting, insisting these claims were exaggerated misunderstandings taken completely out of context. The board president demanded silence, requesting full investigation into Karen's documented financial irregularities. Daniel watched quietly, feeling years of frustration transforming into validating, powerful momentum finally. Maria squeezed his hand again, whispering that justice felt closer than ever before. Karen's allies within the board distanced themselves, refusing to defend her reckless accusations. The meeting adjourned abruptly, promising formal investigation before any further disciplinary action proceeded. Karen stormed outside, her composure shattered by unexpected public exposure and humiliation. Daniel stepped into the cool night air, feeling cautious relief replace lingering anxious tension. He knew this victory remained incomplete until the lawsuit itself was formally dismissed. Weeks later, Karen illegally altered official zoning and boundary documents. Her fraudulent bylaw changes were declared void, dismantling the entire foundation of her lawsuit. Daniel received formal notice stating all charges against him were completely and permanently dropped. Relief washed over him as he finally exhaled months of accumulated stress and worry. Maria celebrated with him, hugging him tightly while neighbors gathered outside his beachfront home. However, defeat. Attempting one final desperate intimidation tactic against Daniel. She arrived unannounced, demanding he remove the ramp despite the lawsuit's official dismissal. Daniel calmly informed her that authorities were already investigating her broader financial misconduct. Karen's face paled as two sheriff vehicles slowly pulled into the quiet beachfront street. She protested loudly, insisting this situation represented nothing more than a misunderstanding entirely. The sheriff approached, holding documents detailing embezzlement charges related to falsified HOA fines. Karen's hands trembled as deputies explained the seriousness of her documented financial crimes. Neighbors watched silently, witnessing the dramatic collapse of someone who once controlled their lives. She glanced toward Daniel, searching desperately for sympathy within his calm, steady expression. He offered none. She once tried desperately destroying. The sheriff escorted Karen toward the patrol car as reporters quietly documented the unfolding scene. Her HOA position was immediately revoked following the community's emergency. Unanimous. Overwhelming vote. Daniel watched the patrol car disappear, feeling justice finally settle over his exhausted shoulders. Maria hugged him again, reminding him that resilience ultimately outlasted cruelty and corruption. The community organized new leadership, promising transparency, fairness. 1. Families who once feared retaliation now spoke openly, grateful for renewed neighborhood trust. Daniel stood on his porch, watching waves gently kiss the golden afternoon shoreline. He realized this victory represented far more than simply saving his cherished beachfront home. It proved that courage, patience, harshest injustice. Maria joined him, watching the sunset paint brilliant colors across the calm evening sky. Neighbors gathered nearby, sharing laughter and gratitude after months of quiet. Painful struggle. Daniel touched the wooden ramp, remembering every sacrifice that brought him to this moment. He whispered softly that some battles required patience rather than immediate confrontation or anger. The community slowly healed, rebuilding trust through honesty, accountability. Karen's downfall served as a powerful reminder that abused power eventually faces consequences. Daniel's story spread beyond the neighborhood, inspiring others facing similar unjust HOA treatment. He often told newcomers that standing firm against injustice required courage and unwavering patience. Maria reminded everyone that kindness and solidarity remained stronger than fear or intimidation. As months passed, the beachfront community flourished under fair and transparent new leadership. Daniel's ramp remained exactly where it belonged, a symbol of resilience and quiet strength. He often sat watching sunsets, grateful for justice finally restored within his peaceful home. His story became a testament proving ordinary people could triumph against unchecked abusive power. True justice ultimately rewarded patience, courage against tyranny. And every evening, that resilience always outlasts cruelty.